but it's legal because the same people are making truckloads of money off of you. And so sugar suppresses the human immune system. So sugar keeps you tired, it keeps you dumb, and so you can't vote and you can't think, okay? And you are a target for the medical industry all the time. And because sugar, like nicotine, is extremely addictive, if you can make dead animals, sick animals, taste sweet, it tricks your sensory system, because our biology has always known that wherever there was something sweet, there was a concentration of nutrition and sugar. Isn't that what in nature is sweet? A papaya, lots of nutrition, lots of sugar. Honey, good carbohydrate source, great nutrition source. So if you go through the whole kingdom of nature, wherever you find something sweet, you find a concentrated form of nutrition. So our senses are always hunting for sugar. Okay, so all of a sudden now you take a piece of bacon, and your subconscious mind goes, sugar, wow, and the next thing you know, you're going to the grocery store, you gotta have Farmer John's bacon. You don't know why, but what you're really doing is looking for Farmer John's sugar. That's shit bacon with sugar, okay? They put sugar in cigarettes because it's as addictive as the nicotine, so they get you twice. You're wound up, jacked up, and addicted to the tea, okay? This is good business for somebody, okay? So this is all approved. Now, the fishing industry isn't even regulated. Commercial farming of fish is unregulated. They're using new scientific designer drugs, ladies and gentlemen, that have never been tested, nobody even knows about. So they're kind of like Russian athletes. That's another story, okay? I know too much. I'm in the athlete training business, so you know there's a lot of designer drugs made by different countries, right? And they make these designer drugs because they don't know how to test for them. You see, you can only test for what you know, but a good chemist can make testosterone about 1,000 different ways, so the molecule structure is just slightly different. But it still makes your women sound like Mr. Ed and have to shave twice a day, and they can put a shot like you've never seen. But they come clean on their drug tests, so all of this stuff's going on. The average American farming family has been found to deplete and completely ruin 7,000 acres of land per farming family. Isn't that amazing? The average American farming family will completely ruin 7,000 acres of land. Now, when I say average American farming family, I mean my father, his father, and his father. So any lineage of farmers, on average, where you have a family of farmers, they ruined 7,000 acres of land. In 1937, research showed we had already destroyed 61% of the available farmland in the United States of America, and we've been importing our food for a long time from third world countries. It might interest you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that every illegal pesticide in the United States is used in third world countries, and they grow it and ship it back to you. So right now, if you're buying commercial tomatoes, if you're buying any produce at the store, if it's come from a third world country, you're still getting DDT. You're still getting all the illegal chemicals. What does Monsanto and DuPont do? They go over there and they give this stuff to them, and they get them on this because they say, oh, look, it'll increase your crop yields. So they use little biochemical tricks to addict the plants. What do you think happens to a plant if you put a bunch of salt on the ground? What happens to you if I give you too much salt? You get thirsty. So the plants, when they give them salt and chemicals, get thirsty, and to the uneducated farmer, they think, look at the size of these tomatoes. Look at my corn. And these things grow like crazy. Why? They're trying to detox themselves. They're drinking water up like crazy to try to neutralize all the chemicals in their bodies, but to the uneducated farmer, they think, look at the size of my pumpkins, right? This is why women wear t-shirts that say size matters. There's actually a true story about that. Aaron Fried Pfeiffer, who's a famous biodynamic farmer, grew carrots. Any of you know this story? This is true. It's in, if you can hear this in the lecture series Aaron Fried Pfeiffer himself from Acres USA, which is recordings from his live lectures in the University of Texas in 1957 and 1958. And he describes clearly that he raised biodynamic carrots, which are highly nutritious carrots, but they wouldn't sell in the supermarket. He could never sell them, so all the supermarket vendors stopped buying his carrots. So he started doing research, and he went and actually surveyed women. He would put the carrots there and he would ask them, now, between these two carrots, these are biodynamic, they're much more nutritious, why aren't you buying them? And the women consistently said, because they're so small. They always wanted to buy the bigger carrots, which were the commercially grown carrots. Why? For the reasons I just gave you. So the women are attracted to these big carrots, but they don't care about the nutrition, you know. Remember, little carrots are like dynamite. You don't need a lot. Okay? So research shows that for soil, hey, when you give these lectures as much as I do, you gotta make it a little interesting, right? I've said this stuff 87,000 times, and I feel it's sad because, like, I know how important this is. You know, I'm 46 years old, and I can still run as fast as I did in high school football, and I'm stronger than I ever was. And when athletes come to me to get trained and I kick their asses in the gym, they look at me like something seriously wrong is happening. Like, you're old enough to be my dad. How did you just do that? I'm like, well, yeah, you're old enough to be my dad biologically. How'd you do that? You get that? I mean, this is a fact. I got 27-year-old professional football players who are flabby, saggy, and tired, and I'm kicking their ass. I'm like, no, you're the old one. And they always ask me at the same time, what kind of drugs are you on? I'm like, if you know anything about drugs, you know I don't even look like a drug user. I'll tell you the drugs I'm on, but you aren't going to believe it. Ready? Carrots, tomatoes, chicken. You ever heard of any of them? They're readily available, and they're cheap, right? So what you see is it takes 4 to 6% organic matter for ideal soil, yet the average commercially farmed fields range between 0 and 1.5%. The average commercially raised farms range between 0 and 1.5% organic matter in the soil. What does that mean, folks? Who needs the organic matter? The microorganisms, not the plants. Plants don't eat plants. You follow that? The organic matter is the leftovers from last year's crop. You know, when fall comes and winter comes, the grass lays down. Most plants live in cycles. So when they die, or when they reseed and go into the spore form where they're in the root phase, in the winter phase, then the foliage just lays on the ground. The microorganisms eat it. So the earthworms eat it. The microorganisms eat it, okay? So this organic matter, and on average, you need 4 to 6% organic matter to keep the microorganisms healthy. That's what is the for. If there's less than that, then the microorganism population starts to starve. Just like you would start to starve if there wasn't enough food in the supermarkets. You'd all start to starve, okay? Most people think plants actually eat poop. Most people actually think that when a farmer fertilizes the field that the plants eat that. The plants don't eat poop any more than you do. I doubt you're in a hurry to eat a bunch of poop. Plants don't like poop. Microorganisms love the stuff. They call like feces and urine an activator. So in farming terminology, urine is an activator. It excites the microorganisms into action. So the microorganisms eat the fecal material, which energizes them. Remember, they are decomposers, so they eat anything that doesn't have a life of its own anymore.